Hello?
Hello, Jughead. This is Archie. Come over right away. It's a matter of life or death.
Oh, relax, Archie.
Attention, all true believers. Marvel Comics is on the air.
A friend of the unfortunate, enemy of criminals. In reality, Dan Garrett, a rookie patrolman, loved by everyone but suspected by none of being the Blue Beetle.
Boys and girls, your attention, please. Presenting a new exciting radio program featuring the thrilling adventures of an amazing and incredible personality. Faster than an airplane, more powerful than a locomotive, impervious to bullets.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Talking Shop. I am producer Kyle, and that guy right there is one of my favorite people in the comic book business. We have more great conversations when we get together with him than I do with anybody, and that includes when we have Henri there and we have to talk slowly so he can follow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Fabrice Sapolsky from Fair Square Graphics.
Thank you, God. Like, this is like the sweetest intro I've ever had. Like, honestly, this is really sweet. But likewise, I mean, when that's true, like, I wish there was a mic every time we have a conversation so that people could hear our rumblings, the rumblings about the industry, like what we're going through. We never have enough time to express ourselves. I feel like so much is lost in the white noise of what's going on. And I feel like there would be some lessons, not just for the public, because they're curious, but also for other peers to learn from. So,
well, it's an interesting thing. The first time I talked to you, I was put in touch with you by our friend Don Wen, who's like,
yes, shout out to Don.
Yeah, shout out to Don. But the hook was, do you want to talk to this guy Fabrice, who created a character, at the Big Two, and we're not going to talk about that garbage.
You mean the small two?
Well, at a very red.
They're the small two.
A very red logoed company. And
yeah,
we started talking, and I quickly realized that I didn't care about talking about that. I wanted to talk about so much other stuff that you've done. And I feel like you have one of the most unique and clarion voices in the independent scene.
That's very nice of you to say that.
And the reason I think that is this. When we're sitting there trying to figure out the trends, and we're sitting there trying to figure out the future, and we're sitting there trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this better? You are always trying something new, always trying something different. And at the same time, doing it in a way that is unique to you. You're doing new things. You're doing interesting things with Fair Square Graphics, and we're going to get into that. But you're doing it different than the next six guys in line in Artist Alley or whatever are doing it.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is how have you found it being able to stick to your guns like that, being able to stick to your morals or your ethics? I know it's sometimes a struggle, but how do you do that?
Well, it's every day is a struggle, especially this year. This year has been probably the most challenging year in the last 5 years of Fair Square Comics than Fair Square Graphics. Simply because, I mean, election years are really difficult for a lot of businesses, and publishing is not spared, far from that. But this year has been particularly difficult because of the trend that retailers are going through. They're going through a lot, and that means that foot traffic is down. People are spending less, and it makes the situation difficult. And you have to ask yourself, all right, I'm a small publisher, and really we are small. We have 12 to 15 titles a year, so we are very small. and you're a small publisher, you still have to make a living, which is difficult because of rising cost of paper, of printing, of distribution, of shipping, of everything. But then one of your main channels, which is book distribution, like retail, they're basically not ordering you anymore because they have this bigger challenge, which is what am I going to order next month or in 3 months? And I don't know if I'm going to take a chance on these guys that I barely know or on a brand that I already know. And the problem has been that forever, like choosing the brand over choosing the artisans. But it's even worse right now because of the nature of retail. It's very, very hard for retailers to make the right choice. I would say they always should take a chance on us because when they see the books, they realize that they will sell and they are selling. And I'm not inventing it. Like that's one of the main reasons why we're doing all these shows, 28 shows this year, 28 comic book conventions, book fairs, store signings. We even sold in the streets. We did all that to prove a point, not to say to retailers, well, we don't trust you, but to say to retailers, we want to show you that with minimal investment, we're putting the books out there and people stop. They stop in the street, they stop at shows, they stop to buy them. Or if they don't buy them, they will buy them. Like they don't buy them today, they will buy them tomorrow, they will buy them in a week online, or we will send them to you and they will buy it at your store. And we live in a very, very interesting and awkward era where most of the big uh, distribution channels are kind of like navigating this strange territory where should we trust the public? Should we trust the publishers, the creators or the publishers? Or should we trust an algorithm? And it changes all the time.
Right.
The big ones are trusting the algorithm, which hurts us. Because basically, Amazon, Target, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, they all have the same MO, which is to tell publishers, send us your people and we'll order your books, which is insane. That means that there's no space for impulse buying. There's no space for discovery. It's only repeating the brand that has worked, the name that you know. And it makes it a very challenging market for people like us because not only we're not the biggest names on the planet, we also don't have the marketing budget that goes with book distribution on a high scale, the big scale. But also we have products that are very different by nature. Because again, we're the only family immigrant minority owned publisher of graphic novels. So we have a catalog that is pretty novel, pretty new, and a market that has become more and more conservative.
It's true. For anybody not in the know, can you kind of explain? You mentioned it a little bit: family-owned, immigrant-owned, people of color,
Minority owned. Yeah.
minority-owned, all of that kind of stuff. Can you explain what Fair Square Graphics is to anybody who maybe doesn't know?
So for people who don't know, Fair Square Graphics is basically three people, and two are active, and one is kind of a silent partner. So my son Ethan is a silent partner. He has his own life, but he has been with us in the formative years, in the early years. But it's basically my partner Crystal and myself. And Crystal and I, we're touring extensively. We're defending the books everywhere, and the way we created our lineup was three things. Number one, we wanted to put ourselves on shelves. Like one of the reasons why I started my own publishing company was not because I didn't want to work for other companies. It's simply other companies didn't care working with me. So I always say to people, if you feel you have something to say and you want to publish something, you shouldn't wait for people to give you a chance. So I started my own stuff because I was overlooked. And I can understand. I'm not bitter about it. I'm not bitching about it. This is the reality. Like I was sending ideas, people were like not responding. So I was like, okay, well, I think I have something to say and I think I have an audience. So I'm going to prove people wrong. I'm an overachiever. I'm a doer. So that's what I do. And Crystal is exactly the same. Crystal comes from comedy. She's still performing, like she's at the top of her game right now, performing in a lot of clubs. She's a regular at the New York Comedy Club. She's doing 3 to 5 shows a week in New York, and on top of that, she is dealing with all the social media and she's an amazing saleswoman at shows. So it has become this whole dynamic duo of Crystal and myself both working on our strength to make sure that the company is seen, and that's the biggest challenge is to be seen. Now, the other pillar, the other thing, the second thing that is important is representation. And same thing, like we're both minorities, we're both different, we both have a different voice, and I'm on top of that, I'm an immigrant from France. Um, it adds a layer of challenges. Like I was at a show a week ago. When people asked, the promoter asked me my name, I say my name. They were like, "Excuse me," and this was rude, but honestly, I'm used to it. I'm used to people not being able to hear Fabrice, not people not being able to understand or decipher Fabrice, Fabrice. It's really easy, but this is not, their ear is not used to this. And I'm kind. I'm not saying it the French way. I could. It would be worse. But I decided not to change my first name. I know and I respect people who immigrated to the United States and decided to change their first name or their last name to have a more American friendly name. And I decided that fuck it. If Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't change his name, people will have to accept mine. So I'll carry my name, my first name and my last name as long as I live, because this is how my parents wanted to call me, and that's it. And
I don't think you could.
so
I don't think you could pull off being named Tom. I just don't think it fits
no,
you. Something like that, like a
no,
super
but that
American
would
name, just doesn't fit you,
yeah, it doesn't fit my personality. That's right.
right?
So the second thing is representation, and not only we put ourselves in there, but we also are bringing all the talents from all around the world that are also challenged by the system, that are underrepresented, that are misrepresented, and we're trying to give them a voice in publishing. But we don't we're not trying to cater to one community in particular, and I think that's what differentiates us from other minority publishing companies. We're not trying to cater to one community in particular. We have books from Black creators, we have books from Asian creators, we have books from um, um, disabled creators, we have, of course, queer books. We have books from everywhere. We have Indonesian books. Um, but at the end of the day, comics are for everyone. And that's why our motto is comics from the rest of us, because it's like it's from us, but for everybody. And when people show up to the table, we're not saying to white folks, well, sorry, this is not for you. No, we're very happy when people that are not the ethnicity represented in the books are taking an interest in said book and consider buying it. For us, it's pride. Like we live in a world that is multi-ethnic, multicultural, and diverse. So we are simply putting the reality of the world into the books and sending back to the world, if if it makes sense. And the
No,
third thing,
it super does. By the way, if you read some of maybe not the books we're going to talk about today, but some of the titles from Fair Square, you'll see what he means super clearly. But go ahead.
yeah. And the third thing that is very important that really I want to insist on is creators' rights. And creators' rights are something that are very dear to me because of my adventure with Marvel Comics, but also all through my career, not necessarily as a creator, but also as an editor. Like I thought very challenging when I was an editor in France. I saw it at play. When I was an editor here at Humanoids or at Heavy Metal, I saw it at play. And I saw stuff and how contracts are fashioned that I could not really condone. So I was like, okay, we're going to do it a little differently, and we're going to offer a different type of contract for a different type of contracts. Sorry, with an S. We have different types of contracts for creators, and we're going to make it like tailor made.
Right.
Um, Now, for all the people who are going to watch it and say, "Hey, I submitted something to you, like I put in the submission 4 years ago, you never answered me." Well, we get a lot of submissions. Most of them are not in line with our editorial plans. That's the best way to put it. And like if we still have, I just got two yesterday. One of them was a 24 issue series, and the other one was a graphic novel that was a horror graphic novel. And I say to these most of the time aspiring creators, there's nothing wrong with being an aspiring creator. I was once an aspiring creator. Just pay attention. Just look at what the publisher is putting out every month. And when you are sending me something that is not in line with my plans or what we've been published for the past 5 years, then that can only mean one thing, is that I'm probably the 20th publisher you've sent your project to, and you're just trying. And for the same reason, when I put out books and when Fair Square Graphics chooses a title to put out on the market, it follows a strategy. You should have a strategy when pitching a book to a publisher and take a look. We only have one mild horror book, and I've been very vocal that this is an exception, not the rule. I am not interested in horror. There will not be more because I'm not interested. This was a unique thing, and the book in question is called Meshuggah, which is a wonderful book, by the way. Just came out, but clearly there's no room for another horror book or an horror series. And the second thing is you sending me 12 issue series, 24 chapters, whatever. We don't do single issues. We haven't done single issues ever. The closest thing to a single issue that we did was doing mini graphic novels, which were 72 pages, one or two issues, and that was it. That was it. And we stopped doing that because when the market started becoming soft, it made no sense, and we started losing money. So we're not going to go back there. And for the foreseeable future, you're not going to see any Fisker Graphics single issue except on Kickstarter. That's the only place where we will do single issues. And if we're doing a book on Kickstarter, and I'll end up with this, that's a book that we created, Crystal or myself, that we own, because it's so much work to do a Kickstarter, the fulfillment that we can't possibly um, have a system in place where everyone makes money from that with other creators.
So I
Sorry,
want to talk
that was a
about.
lot.
No, it's good. It's what's interesting, and what's interesting is I've heard that spiel you just gave from you myself, but this is a lot of people probably haven't heard it since it has changed over the time that we've known each other. Like the whole premise of the whole backbone of Fair Square Comics has adjusted as the market has
Yeah.
adjusted, but two of those things haven't.
Mhm.
Right, the creators' rights things and the representation things really haven't changed,
Yeah.
and
No.
neither has the putting yourselves on shelves thing. But at the same time, like the way the company focuses and approaches the world has changed since I've known you, and it's impressive to me because I see a lot of companies that the tide is turning and they're fighting against it just to try and keep things the way they were, as
Yeah.
opposed to adjusting, pivoting, changing, reconfiguring, and going back forward. So
Yeah.
that's really impressive to me that you guys are able to do that. And at the same time, knowing you and knowing Crystal, I can't imagine there being any other way. So
Right. And the interesting thing is, so a year ago, we started seeing the market dropping. And we were like, what are we going to do? We knew, I mean, 2023, because we had this partnership with Alien Books, our offerings inflated up to 22 titles. And we knew that because we parted ways with Alien Books, and it was our decision, it was my decision because it was really a lot of work, and I couldn't see ourselves making any money from that deal. And not that I have anything wrong to say about Alien Books, they're still very much our friends. I mean, I had coffee with Matthias, the owner of Alien Books, a couple of weeks ago, and like I love this guy, and I love their mission, and I love what they're doing. It's just not us,
right,
and they wanted to move at a faster pace than we could. Like they're now doing like 5 6 books a month. We just can't. Like doing one a month is already a challenge. So I couldn't process not only their books but also my own books. So it was like really complicated. But at this time, it was like, okay, we're going to try to do more with less. And it was not really, I'm very candid about this. It was not really successful, as in you realize that there are so many pieces, so many moving pieces around, um, that it's almost impossible to master the equation and understand. So we had to learn to pivot very quickly. And in February of this year, we were like, okay, what's going on the market? Single issues, not working. It's a loss leader. We knew it. That's why we never really you know, were part of it. The direct market has been challenging for us since the beginning because it's a game of who's going to scream the loudest to get noticed, who's going to compete for an inch of shelf space at a comic book store. And comic book stores have become very conservative with time, which again I'm not blaming them for. It's just an observation from where I stand. Um, so we were like, okay, what's working? Manga is working, Asian style content is working. Well, let's try to do that. And so we started looking at what we could grab. And the first book that we were able to find is this one, The Three Musketeers, which is a manga version of The Three Musketeers. It's a pretty good book. And so the first volume was released in September, and the second one comes in the spring. And we are now kickstarting a line of Asian style manfra, which are French manga or Spanish manga, that will be published, as well as our own stuff. And we're doing more black and white stuff, which we didn't do before, because we realized that, you know what, it makes no difference. If people like the art and they understand and like the story, color or no color, they're going to buy it. So it changes a lot of what we do. And instead of being like this company that does only high quality color book, we're doing high quality, but all type of books. The same way at one point it was, okay, we're only going to produce American style, American standard size comics. But then we started having this challenge with European books that we were importing, like it's not fitting. The ratio between the size, the width and the length is different. So we're going to find another thing. And so now most of our books, those that are not Asian style, are going to be 7 by 10, which is uh, a natural fit for the French books that we're importing or the Spanish book that we're importing, but it's also the golden age American format that was abandoned. So we're bringing back something that is very American, but that has been changed in the 1980s, and it's we feel like, okay, we're reconnecting, but at the same time we're bringing something different.
Right.
So pivoting, we're constantly doing that. And sometimes like people are like, oh, what are you looking for? Well, I always tell people it's not what I'm looking for, it's what are you looking for? Because we will totally adapt for the right project. We'll adapt the strategy, we'll adapt the format, we'll adapt how we work so that we can sell it. The ultimate goal is to sell books, to make them profitable so that there's enough money to cover our costs with a little something on top, and to put money in the hands, in the pockets of creators too.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I find it really impressive your ability to pivot and make small changes that are actually big changes. Like it seems like a small change going from American standard current size to Euro standard or silver or golden age size, which
Silver Age style.
right, silver age size, which doesn't seem like a big thing, but it's a very big thing.
It is.
Uh so I'm very impressed by that. Something that we talked about before we started recording, and it's something that you kind of mentioned earlier. I love the way you and Crystal handle social media.
Oh, it's mostly
Um,
Crystal.
it-
I'm just a guest.
it's mostly Crystal, and you're just saying the things she tells.
She directs me. She's like, you should say that. You have to say this, and you have to. And it's not like she's putting her words in my mouth. It's still my words, but I trust her to drive that ship.
Right,
She's way better than I am.
Crystal's the best staff writer in the house, I'm sure.
She is.
But I love the way you guys handle social media because it's very direct a lot of the time. It's so often when you go on social media and you look at an Instagram reel or a TikTok from a comic book publisher, it's flowery and everything is great, everything is awesome, like yada yada yada. And with you guys, it's very direct, it's very real in that we're a small company. This is who we are. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is why we're doing it. Come along for the ride or don't. We're going to do it anyway. And there's something refreshing about that.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this was not even a debate. Like when we started doing this, it was like, why would we tell a lie? Why would we tell a story? Why would we sugarcoat it? It is hard to be a publisher. It is hard to be a small company. It is hard to survive and exist. Why would we even make it like it's fantastic? I remember being at a convention, probably 10 years ago. Probably 10 years ago, and I was seated at a panel next to another Marvel creator. There was not any Fair Square Graphics at the time, of course, but I was there to talk about my time with Marvel, and I was already pretty vocal about my experience there. And he was like kind of like grabbing my shirt, like Fabrice, you can't say that. What do you say we can't say that? I say whatever I want. No, but like people want to hear about the dream, about the chance, the privilege. I mean, there's no privilege of being paid $20 a page to create and come up with an entire universe. There's no privilege in that. So this is not a privilege. Like, I have, just like a lot of creators, this complicated relationship with the big companies, and honestly, I would work with them, but on a very different set of with a very different set of rules as I
Sure.
did in the past. Um, but the reality is that I I don't think they will ever be interested in working with me because the way things are shaping up, all these companies are looking for something that I'm not. They're
Hmm.
looking for influencers. They're looking for actors. They're looking for people with an aura that is different, that does not come from within. And I'm a pure product of the publishing industry. And this is because I was raised in the publishing industry, that I know its flaws, I know its beautiful strength, and I'm not an interesting proposition for them. I'm more of a uh, free agent than anything else, and they're not interested in that. So no matter how good my ideas could be for their characters, they will probably never call me because
Sure.
they're not interested. So, and it's also, it validates the idea that you have to do your own thing, and you have to build your own audience from scratch. The only thing that I really regret is not to start earlier in my life. Like,
Sure.
if I had started when I was 35 instead of 45, it would have been a completely different scenario, and Fisker Graphics would be way bigger right now.
Sure. I get that. But the thing that I really, I kind of want to talk about is it's such an unvarnished look at what Fair Square Graphics is, the way you guys present it. Um, have you found that people respond to just the kind of I'm going to go back and use unvarnished again, like a bad writer, but the sort of
Mm.
raw, sort of take it or leave it kind of perspective you guys offer? Has there been good response to that, or from yourselves, has it just been cathartic to just put it out there and not have to worry about trying to keep up a facade?
It's a good question. We have both. I mean, in general, people don't care. People like they're like, and I'm when I say people, most of our interactions with people are at conventions. So at conventions, 90% of the people that show up at the table meet us for the first time. So we're not just going to hammer them with, oh, the industry is this, or we're doing this, or we're not going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the books, and we're going to talk about not just the books, but also uh, the people behind them, how we make them, how we're different. People are shocked and surprised when I say that I'm not interested in printing in China. And I've been saying this for as long as we had the company, and also because we have printers coming to shows, almost every show, and say, "Oh, we're a broker. We have this printing facility in China." Let me stop you right here. I'm not interested, and I'm not interested because I worry about the environment. And you can mock me all you want, but the carbon footprint of printing in China is terrible, terrible. What would we need to go on the other side of the planet to print a book? Makes no
Right.
sense to me. So we print in Canada, and if there were really good printers in the United States, we would print in the United States. But so far, Canada has been a good combination of quality and reliability, for a price that is decent. Well, we're going to see what happens in the new year if we're hit
You
with
may
a
have to pivot.
25% tariffs.
Well, you
But
may have to pivot.
we would have to pivot, but we would not go to China anyway because it would still be too far. Again, when um, when Diamond closed down their facility in the Northeast, um, we were directly impacted. I was not happy because that meant that instead of paying shipping from my printer in Quebec to Plattsburgh, New York, now I have to pay from Quebec to Olive Branch, Missouri, which doubles my shipping costs. And on books that have been solicited months ago, and I can't raise the price on. So that means that um, the very economy of our books has been impacted weeks ago by this decision that Diamond did. Um, so everything is in the open. We don't want to hide it. We don't want to hide the fact that we are struggling. We don't want to hide the fact that every morning we wake up and we're like, okay, how are we going to do it this month? How are we going to do it this week? Every week is challenging, especially right now. We don't want to sugarcoat it. Why would we? People are like us. We are like people. We're the same. Like everyone wants to pay their rent. Everyone wants to pay for food, to have food on the table, and we're no exception. We just decided because we thought that it was our calling to work in the publishing and entertainment industries, and that's the big difference. It's like no, not everybody, fortunately, has this calling, even though there are more and more people doing it right now. But we don't have another job. This is the job. I'm spending 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week working on the company, making sure that it's there next year.
So, speaking of working on the company and social
Yeah.
media, you made a post about Intertwined.
Yes.
And it really sparked my interest and my curiosity. Can you explain? So I bought Intertwined from you 2 years ago at a convention.
Yeah.
My copy. And thinking about it now, I may just have to buy another copy from you because I don't know that I'm gonna be able to get copy I loaned out back. This is a library problem that I have. But explain what's going on. You've got a new printing, you just did a Kickstarter. Right. Explain to everybody where we're at with Intertwined and this fun little social media activity that really got my brain humming.
Okay, so let me just back up a little bit and start with what is Intertwined. So Intertwined, well, this is the latest book. It's very shiny gold finish that is now a 300-pager big volume. So this is Intertwined. Intertwined is a very important and very dear book to me. It's the first book that I wrote when I moved to the United States 9 years ago. So because I was going through that, it's a story about an immigrant that comes to New York and that is green and has to learn the hard way what it is to be a stranger in a strange land. Except there's also a murder mystery and there's kung fu and it's based on Chinese cosmology. So and it stars a few communities of New York that have been outcast in the past and are still in some ways today. I did the book with Fred Pham Chuang, who's a wonderful artist who's now doing a lot of covers for Transformers. And he's also doing a couple of titles for the French market until he has the time to come back to do more Intertwined with me, which I'm very excited about. And so we did a Kickstarter in 2016, early 2016. We did a Kickstarter, and it was really difficult. But at the time, I met a gentleman called Rich Young, and Rich Young, who is now the editorial director and co-owner of Ablaze Comics, but at the time he was the director of development of Dynamite. He said to me, "I really like the concept," and we had been at this point we had been rejected by a lot of companies. IDW didn't want it. Dark Horse never answered. I didn't want to go to Image because I had a prior experience with them, and I was not really convinced. So Dynamite became our only solution, and Rich really wanted us. So he said, "Succeed your Kickstarter, we'll sign the book." We succeeded the Kickstarter, we signed the book, and it was released starting in October 2016 through Dynamite, and we did 6 issues. Okay. Um, the process was really complicated. It was really complicated. We did not quite understand the marketing choices of the company in how they promoted the book. And I'm being very diplomatic by saying that. So when all was said and done, we did um, the trade. And I want to give another shout out to Anthony Marcus, who used to be our point of contact there. He was the editor at Dynamite at the time, and now he co-owns the Kubert School, and he's a wonderful artist also, and he does a lot of things with DC and also with Dynamite now. But Anthony, he tried his best to make sure that Intertwine could exist the closest possible way from to what we wanted, and it couldn't happen. So we simply decided to let the rights lapse, and we got it back after 5 years. It was in the contract; it was 5 years, and then we got the rights back. And when we got the rights back, we republished that version of Intertwine, which was 192 pages. It was 160 pages in the Dynamite edition. It was already 192 pages in the Fair Square Comics edition. And this new version here, which is, as I said, 300 pages, include the original series that we completely restored. The lettering has been completely redone. Some of the colors also have been touched up. And we added The Last Jewish Daughter of Kaifeng, which was 72 pages that we published last year, and another new story that is completely unpublished before called The Torchbearer, which gives the spotlight to another one of our characters from the Haitian community. And that was created with Greg Anderson Elise and Domenico Carbone. So all that makes it what we call an omnibus. So it's an omnibus version. We did a Kickstarter in June for it, but strangely, very few people saw it. We reached the goal, but it was really not much money. And so we solicited through Diamond, and demand was really low again. And I was like, okay, same thing as I always do. I'm going to prove them wrong. So I fought to get the book printed, and it's been another adventure. We were supposed to go to Europe, and then when I discovered that the shipping was twice the amount they originally announced, I said, okay, another proof that I should have stuck to my gun and go to Canada and go close instead of going far. And we printed in Canada, but the print bill is $12,000. So that's a hefty price. That's a lot of money. So now we have the books, and we're going to have to pay those $12,000. I still don't know how, but we're going to have to. And I wish people see it the way I see it. And for the first time, people will be able to do that. And I've tested this at the last 2 shows I've been at. People stop. I mean, Intertwine has always been a showstopper because of its very dynamic covers, but this is a classy book style, trade style cover that we're doing, and especially with the gold finish, people stop They take the book in hand and they're like, I want that. And that really validates my whole strategy, which is you have to put the books in front of people so that they can fall in love with them. And that's what this new edition is all about. It's about make yourself like make yourself happy. Gift yourself with this. This is for you. It could be for someone else, of course, but this is for you. This story means a lot to me. It means a lot to Fred. It means a lot to a lot of people who have been and who are featured in this. We have tons of big name artists who have contributed. Nick Bracho, Olivier Coipel, Patrick Zercher, uh, Gerald Parel. So many great creators have contributed an illustration or pages of Intertwined. This is a book that you can't miss. You will come out of this, and I'm not saying it because I wrote that. You will come out of this thinking, okay, I felt something. I understand.
Absolutely. And if people want to buy Intertwined, easiest way to buy it is to find you at a show. But
No, I mean, yes, easiest way to find me is to find me at a show, but you can also buy it through our web store, and it will be available through comic book stores that have ordered it, and there are not a lot. But they still can do it. They still can order it um, on December 11th, and it will be in bookstores, independent bookstores, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, starting December 29th. So if you want it for Christmas, if you want to offer it for Christmas, it's either the comic book stores, the conventions, or the Fair Square Graphics web store.
perfect. That was what I was hoping you would do, is take it away from me and tell people where things are. Um,
Yes,
so
yes.
one of the other things that I want to talk to you about real quick is you showed me at Baltimore Comic Con the only cover I went out and bought of uh uh RoboCop, Terminator, RoboCop,
Terminator.
the robot one. It's the problem is
Terminator.
I'm gearing up for a RoboCop thing, and
Okay,
my brain is on other robots at this point.
that's funny. Nobody has ever asked me to draw a RoboCop commission. Maybe I should draw one for you.
Well, let me talk to my guy. Um, we'll talk about this after you get off the air. But you did a
Yeah,
Terminator cover for
I
Top
did.
Shelf Comics.
TopShelfComic.com. Yes,
Top
they
Shelf
are
Comics.
a yeah, they are an online retailer. Um, they are absolutely wonderful people. Like uh, we headbutt sometimes because we both have like strong personalities, but I have to say that they truly care about the industry. They truly care about the creators that they work with, and they have taken care of me since I started working with them this summer. So I want to give a shout out to Will and Bill, the two heads of Top Chef Comic, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. I did a few things for them. I did a cover for Dead Eyes Empty Space, which is an image comic from Jerry Duggan and John McCrea. And I did the Terminator #1 variant with all its I don't have it here next to me.
It's got
Oh,
so many Terminators on it. It's
oh yeah, that's well. So this is a remarked version. I don't know if you guys can see it. So yeah. So
yeah.
oops. So it has all these Terminators, and this one is remarked, but because they asked me to do remarks, and which I don't really appreciate, but I understand that people appreciate that, so I'm gonna keep doing it if people want it. Uh, that's very simple. Um, so remarks, and yeah, and I did a I collaborated on a Transformers variant that will come out in a few weeks, in a couple weeks actually. Terminator Transformers 15, and I did half of the art on the cover. The other half was CJ Fredericks. So our styles are very, very different. I don't know how people are going to enjoy this, are going to receive this. Sorry. Um, for me, it was a blast. I really enjoyed doing this Transformers cover, and it's these are the characters I was kind of like afraid to draw for a long time, and I had to get over myself and say, you know what, that's the assignment. You need to do it. They've asked you to do an official Skybound cover. You should give it your best, and everyone was happy with it. Livio Ramondelli did the colors on top of that, and Livio is the authority in Transformers covers. So I was pretty happy with that. So I did that with Top Shelf Comic, and they also have this program based on Steamboat Willie, the recently public domain available character, formerly of Disney. And they have this program of books where they do this crazy thing. They have a bunch of variant covers, but every comic inside is different. Like they're creating a new original Steamboat Willie comic for every cover, which is insane.
Yeah.
So when you're buying a cover from someone, the comic inside is not the same from another cover that they did. And they had me do four of them already. I did a Spider-Man Noir Willie. I did a Spawn Willie, and I did another Spawn Willie based on the Malibu Sun cover, which was the first appearance of Spawn. Um, and I did another one. I don't remember which one, but I did four. So it's it's well, that's because like this summer they kept asking me to do more, and I
Right.
lost track. So I was doing a lot, so I lost track. But
Well,
I love working with them.
that's the sign of a good collaboration, right? Is when you've done so much, you can't remember everything you've done,
Exactly.
right? So
Absolutely.
tell people where they could find Top Shelf Comics, topshelfcomics.com, but you're doing a thing
TopShelfComic.com.
as we
Yeah.
speak, as people are watching
Yes.
this, you're over
Yes.
on
I'm on Whatnot at the same time. So it's terrible that we are giving away the fact that we're not live. I mean, we are live, but we're not live. But I'm on Whatnot as we speak, doing a session, and you can buy these comics, whether my remarks or the other people's remarks, um, through their Whatnot or through TopShelfComic.com. And you have to act fast because at first I thought like, oh well, nobody's going to be interested in that. Well, they are bought in minutes. Like I witnessed that scene at the Baltimore show. They showed up with um a Why Not Willie Spawn that I did, and which was a different one from the Malibu Sun, a Spawn that I did, and by the end of the first day, it was gone. It was like two or three or 400 copies gone, and I'm like, wow, I did not expect this. So I
right.
signed a ton of them. Um, but that works. Like people are interested. People are interested. The collectability is high. So yeah, you guys should totally do this. I also did this thing. I'm doing a lot of jam pieces with them. I did a bunch of Transformers. I did a couple of Spider-Man original pieces. So it's yeah, we're having fun. Like I like to be at shows with them too. Because yeah, when I'm not doing my own shows with Fair Square Graphics, I am with Top Shelf Comic now at their booth. So it's a different kind of joy.
So people can buy Fair Square stuff at their local comic shop if they order it, or through Fair
Yes,
Square Graphics web store.
yes, yes.
Um,
They can also ask their comic book store to order our books, which we have a section in previews every month. We've had for the past 4 years. So we're pretty easy to find. Um, it's just good if you don't skip our section. So
Right.
right now, like the books that are being solicited are Red Flower, which is a African manga that we're going to publish in early February, and another book afterwards that is also a manga called The Legend of Akutaku, which will pit a young girl that is hearing impaired against yokai ghosts
Okay.
to save our village.
That one sounds very interesting. Very excited for
It
that one.
is, yeah, very exciting. We fell in love, Crystal and I, when we saw this. Was from a Spanish publisher. We saw this book and we're like, we need this. We need this. So we just took the rights for World English, and here we are.
Nice. Where can people follow you on social media? Where can they find things? Where can they watch what happens next with Fair Square and with Fabrice and with Crystal?
So with Fabrice, it's easy. I'm under at Fabrice Sapolsky on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram. Uh, and the company is at Fair Square Graphics everywhere also, except on X. We're not on X. It's a conscious choice on our part. And it's the same for Crystal. Crystal is at under the Dark Crystal.
Well, and don't miss out on their TikToks because they're very good on TikTok.
Yes, we're also on TikTok. Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Don't miss out on
I
their
forgot
TikToks. They're
TikTok.
very good on TikTok.
Yes.
if
For the
if
time
you're
being,
looking for
TikTok is still around, but yes.
yes, if you're looking for something that isn't the formerly bird-based social media platform, try TikTok. And
Yeah.
so, what shows do you have coming up? Do you have any more the rest of this year? Or are you kind of coasting to the new year? What do you got left
Yes,
on the
yes,
schedule?
yes. This coming weekend, I'll be with our friend Henri Campan at GalaxyCon Columbus, Ohio. We are at booth 1742. You can find us. It's a corner booth, so you should be able to find us on one side Henri and on the other my face, my mug. Uh, and then afterwards, it's pretty unclear right now. Still negotiating what's going to happen in January and February. I hope I can get to more shows. Like if anyone doing shows in January and February want to have me, I'll gladly come. I'll be very happy to be at your shows. But so far, the only show that I can say is going to kick off the year is going to be Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, which is one of our favorite shows of the year. It's going to be late February, early March. And oh, yeah, there's another one that will happen mid February in New York called Cosmic Con NY. That is a relatively new show, but I'm very excited about because the promoter is a very good guy. So yeah, just like I already have like 26 shows on schedule for next year, but I'm hungry for more. So I want to do more shows. I want to do more Asian inspired shows. I want to do more store appearances. I want to go to comic stores. I want to go to comic stores and show people the books. Show not just retailers, but also show the people and show what I see when I go to shows. Like um, if I show up with my books, you will see the magic happen. And oh yeah, no, I was about to forget. Very important. Very important. You will never forgive me. On December 11th, we are doing this thing in New York, in Brooklyn, at Anyone Comics, which is a comic book store I absolutely adore, and I was there on the first day when they opened in 2016. We're doing this thing called Fair Square Graphics Holiday Special, where we're going to be there, sign books. There will be Crystal, there will be myself, and Greg Anderson Elise. And it will be about Intertwine, Mutiny, Black Girl Magic, which we vaguely mentioned here, but that's another one of our big titles. It is not distributed in stores. This one and No Future, which is another one of my titles, is still unpublished and undistributed in store, not distributed in stores. It's something that we are keeping for ourselves right now because we want to have enough material to release graphic novels before we get to the regular distribution um, system. But so far, we have issues, and we'll gladly work with retailers that really want to work with us. Like we're very, very open. Like if retailers from all across the world are seeing this show, we are your friends. We want to work with you because a healthy retailer means that it's a healthy publisher, and we're very interdependent. We need each other to be in a good space.
Absolutely. And that's a good place to end today because we've
Yes.
run out of time. You and I could talk for hours and hours and hours and have and will.
Yes.
And in fact, I will probably be driving to Columbus this weekend. It's really close to me, actually. So
Yeah.
we will maybe see you this weekend. But ladies and gentlemen, Fair Square Graphics website,
Thank you very much, Kyle.
topshelfcomics.com, Fabrice Sapolsky everywhere. Thank you,
Yes.
buddy, for being here. And
Thank
we
you
will
very
see
much.
everybody next time.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.